What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another edition of your Mystro Weekly Industry Roundup. Today is Sunday, May the 5th, 2019, and I want to say thank you to all of you for joining us today. I am Uberman from YouTube, and I'm here in collaboration with Mystro, the app for Android that aggregates your rideshare experience. So, we're going to start out today with number one on my list from The Verge. And this article says, Uber and Lyft stop hiring new drivers in New York City. Now the article says, Uber and Lyft have stopped accepting new drivers in their respective platforms in New York City. The move comes after the city passed new rules that are designed to curb the explosive growth of ride-hail companies. On its website, Uber attributes the new policy to new taxi and limousine commission regulations. To find Lyft's notice about not accepting new drivers, I had to go through the process of signing up as a new driver. This is a reference legislation passed by the New York City Council in December of 2018, which requires ride-hail companies to pay all drivers at least $17.22 an hour after expenses. Now, that's where we're going to stop at that article because there was really no reason to go any further into it than that. $17.22 an hour in New York City after expenses. Now, while to a lot of people, probably to most people, $17.22 an hour sounds like a really good wage, in New York City, it's probably not such a good wage. Last time I was in Midtown Manhattan, I remember I tried to get a Big Mac combo. In fact, I did get one, and it cost me around $10. So you have to take into consideration the cost of living in New York City is going to be pretty significant. So $17.22 an hour is not what I would consider an excellent wage, but I talked to several drivers about this to find out what their opinion was of a cap, number one, on the number of drivers available to drive, and the minimum wage of $17.22 an hour. And it seems the majority of drivers are very happy with that. The majority of drivers seem to think a cap on drivers is a good thing. If you have too many drivers and not enough passengers, you end up with a ton of drivers sitting around not making any money, using up a lot of their time and not getting anything done. So I do agree that the cap is a good thing. It seems to be working so far. And as far as a minimum wage, I guess the verdict is still out on that as to whether drivers actually think that particular portion is a good thing or not. Something like that will obviously drastically reduce the number of drivers that rideshare companies can have on the platform at any given time, because you have to understand at that point, regardless of whether you are taking runs or not, the rideshare company is now responsible to pay you that hourly wage. So what do you think? Do you think there should be a cap on rideshare drivers? And what do you think of there being a minimum hourly wage for drivers? If you see this on Facebook or on YouTube, go ahead and leave your comment below, and let's move on. Number two on my list, this one was a little bit concerning to me for a couple of reasons, but number two on my list says investigators use data from rideshare apps to search for measles cases. Now this came from Atlanta, and it says public health officials in Oregon used data from two rideshare companies to search for people who had been exposed to riders with measles. Investigators reported at the CDC's Epidemic Intelligence Service, or EIS, conference. The Oregon Health Authority, OHA, received a report on August 10th of 2018 that a person with an active case of measles had visited the state, and a secondary case was reported 10 days later. Both patients reported using rideshare services. According to the CDC, measles virus can remain infectious in the air for up to 2 hours after an infected person coughs or sneezes. Driven by several outbreaks, the United States has recorded more than 700 cases of measles already in 2019, the most recent in 25 years. Now this brings up a couple things. Number one, a lot of people are concerned about their security, their privacy, and how that's affected when using rideshare. And personally, I believe your data is most likely very safe. I think it's fairly secure. I'm a rider on multiple platforms, and I use multiple delivery services. I have had no issues. But when you're talking about something like an infectious disease that can become an epidemic in no time, I think it makes sense to try to track down where these people have been, where they came from, where they're going, and try to kind of get an idea of how many people may have been affected by this one person. And that's crazy. And then I guess secondly, it makes you think, and not just rideshare, but taxi or whenever you're out in public in general, whether it's at your favorite mall or your favorite coffee spot, like somebody could sneeze or cough and you might just happen to walk by an hour or two later, and next thing you know, you're infected. That right there can be scary in and of itself. And with that, we are done with this edition of your Mystro Weekly Industry Roundup. Mystro thanks you. I thank you. We all appreciate you for joining us. Stay safe out there, everybody, and stay tuned, same time, same place, for another edition of your Mystro Weekly Industry Roundup. Until next time, stay safe out there.